Well, hello everyone and welcome to Pragmach. Today I wanted to do a compare between the Microsoft Surface Book 3 and Surface Laptop 3. Both devices from Microsoft are in their third generation. Both come with models in 13.5-inch and 15-inch display sizes. The Surface Book offers the ability to have a tablet detach from the laptop, so it really does offer the best of both worlds with a laptop and a tablet configuration all in one. It does also follow in the Surface Pro in trying to cover off both worlds with a single device. But where the Surface Pro is definitely presented as more of a tablet first by Microsoft, the Surface Book takes its focus on being a laptop first. On the Surface Pro tablet lineup, the special keyboard cover, which helps it transform into that laptop look, it is sold as an additional accessory. Whereas the only way to purchase a Surface Book is with the base. Regardless of configuration, regardless of how you try and purchase this, there's no way to just purchase the tablet alone. And that's because it's a laptop first. Before we get really deep into these two devices, I did just want to point out that the main question to ask throughout this video, do you need a laptop to be a tablet, or do you just need a laptop? Starting with the Surface Book 3, looking at the smaller model, it has a 13.5-inch screen with a resolution of 3000 by 2000 with a total 267 pixels per inch. The screen has a more boxier 3:2 aspect ratio and a maximum contrast ratio of 1600:1. There are two configurations on the Surface Book 3. It comes with either a quad-core 10th generation Intel Core i5 or a quad-core 10th generation Core i7 processor. For graphics, the Intel Core i5 configuration comes with Intel Iris Graphics Plus, and the Core i7 configuration comes with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 with 4GB of graphics memory. For battery, when attached to the base, the device gives 15.5 hours worth of battery life. Regarding the cameras, wireless capability, and the ports, both the 13.5-inch and 15-inch Surface Book 3 are equal. For cameras, there is a Windows Hello face authentication 5-megapixel front-facing camera with 1080 video capabilities and an 8-megapixel rear-facing camera. For wireless, you have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5. Ports-wise, there is 2 USB Type-A, 1 USB Type-C, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and there are 2 Surface Connect ports, one on the tablet and one on the base. There is also a full-size memory card reader. Let's move on to the 15-inch Surface Book 3. The resolution of the 15-inch display is 3240 by 2160, giving a density of 260 pixels per inch. It is a touch screen and also comes in at a 1600:1 contrast ratio. Processor-wise, it is equipped with a quad-core 10th generation Intel Core i7, and for graphics, it comes with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti with 6GB of graphics memory. The Surface Book 3 15-inch, while connected to the keyboard base, will give up to 17.5 hours of battery life. While looking at the memory and storage configurations, the Surface Book 3 15-inch comes with 16GB of RAM or 32GB of RAM. When compared to the 13.5-inch model, that does come in an 8GB RAM base model. When looking at storage of the Surface Book 3, both sizes start at 256GB of storage and go all the way to 1 terabyte. 2 terabytes of SSD storage is only available on the 15-inch model. Moving over and looking at the Surface Laptop 3, comes with a 13.5-inch display at 2256 by 1504 resolution, total density of 201 pixels per inch, equipped with either a quad-core 10th generation Intel i5 or quad-core Intel i7. Regardless of the configuration, the only graphics available are Intel Iris Plus graphics. For wireless, it has Bluetooth 5 and Wi-Fi 6. Before we get into the larger model, let's look at some of the similarities between both the 13.5-inch and 15-inch Surface Laptop. For cameras, they both have the same front-facing capable of Windows Hello face authentication and 720p video. For ports, there is one USB Type-A port, one USB Type-C port, a 3.5mm jack, and a Surface Connect port. Notably missing, of course, is a micro SD or full memory card reader. Let's move on and have a look at the 15-inch Surface Laptop 3. The display is a 2496 by 1664 resolution screen, giving a total density of, again, 201 pixels per inch. I believe I forgot to mention it, but both the Surface Laptop 3 have 3:2 aspect ratios. Now, taking it back to processor, this is where the Surface Laptop 3 15-inch model really diverges from the bunch in that it has an AMD Ryzen 5 3580U processor. The alternate configuration is an AMD Ryzen 7 3780U processor. Depending if you go with the Ryzen 5, you will get Vega 9 graphics, and with the Ryzen 7, you will get RX Vega 11 graphics. And one more thing to notice regarding the wireless is it only has Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 6 is only available on the smaller Intel model. Let's go ahead and break down the compare. We're going to have a look at the Surface Book 3 versus the Surface Laptop 3. And another note before we get to pricing, I have just taken the regular pricing. However, you may be able to score some really good deals, some really good sales, and it might change a little bit of the comparison on your end. So do keep that in mind. Having a look at the Surface Book 3 and Surface Laptop 3 13.5-inch variants, I've picked two with the same amount of RAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM for the compare, and the same SSD storage, both configured at 256 gigabytes of storage. Picking this automatically defaults both devices to Core i5 configurations. Both therefore have the same CPU and the same GPU, sporting Intel Iris Plus graphics. There's a little bit of a difference when it comes to camera. The Surface Book 3 has the 1080p camera versus the Surface Laptop's 720p. There is, of course, a rear camera on the Surface Book. Additionally, there's a few more ports on the Surface Book 3. An additional USB-A and an additional Surface Connect port is available. Battery life is also much longer on the Surface Book 3 with 15.5 hours worth versus 11.5 hours worth. And for the wireless option, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are the same. For pricing, we have the Surface Book 3 coming in at $15.99 versus the Surface Laptop 3 coming in at $12.99. So it is $300 for the detachable privilege, the dream of having a standalone tablet when needed. Here we have two devices with the same screen sizes, the same GPUs, the same CPUs, the same amount of storage, and the same amount of RAM. And the question now is, for $300, would you like it to be able to turn into a tablet? $300 alone wouldn't even get you a very nice 13-inch tablet. That $300 extra cost for the Surface Book 3 does bring some other perks. It brings a higher resolution display, more battery life, more ports, and a better front-facing camera. All things being equal, there really could be the possibility that you start out shopping for a Surface Laptop 3, and after you compare the pricing and what you really need, you end up with a Surface Book 3 instead, at least for the 13.5-inch category. The 15-inch category is a little bit of a different story. For the 15-inch model compare, I've chosen 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of SSD storage configurations to keep things comparable. And right away, the Surface Book 3 has some advantages. It has the Wi-Fi 6 over the Wi-Fi 5 on the Surface Laptop 3, and it also has that better camera and the better battery life. It has 17.5 hours of battery compared to 11.5 hours of battery on the Surface Laptop. Like the smaller model, the Surface Book also has those additional ports over the Surface Laptop. And where things get a little bit more complicated is when we start comparing the i7 processor to AMD Ryzen 5 processor. I've looked at some rankings, I looked at Nano Review, I looked at a few places online, and generally speaking, the Intel chipset, the i7, is ranked better. So the Surface Book 3 wins on processor, and when it comes to graphics, it's a similar story. For the graphics configurations we're comparing, it is a 1660 Ti versus the Vega 9 graphics on the Surface Laptop. And it's not that the Surface Laptop 15-inch has bad graphics, it's just that the 1660 Ti is so much better. And it's better at graphics by by a long shot. But let's just skip to the real important question. What do these both cost? Well, when comparing these two configurations, Surface Book 3 comes in at $22.99 and the Surface Laptop 3 15-inch comes in at $16.99. That is a $600 difference. Because of that $600 difference, we could also jump up to the next tier of Surface Laptop 3, which comes in at $20.99. And you get that better Ryzen 7 processor with the Vega 11 graphics, and you're still saving $100 while adding another 256 gigabytes of storage for a total half a terabyte of SSD drive. And this is where the comparison really breaks down between these two 15-inch devices. The Surface Book 3 15-inch is a little different, and I mean outside of it being a detachable tablet. The device is focused around delivering high-end power, and it comes with that high-end price tag. Although on a benchmark and specification battle, it might beat the Surface Laptop 15-inch. On a total value, I'm not so sure. One benefit of the Surface Laptop, it fits into any workflow. After all, it's just a laptop. It's a lot less money. The Surface Book 3, it's a distinct design, and therefore it's a little bit niche, and less consumers might be interested in getting this device. Pricing and specification wise, the Surface Book 3 is much easier to define and understand at the 13.5-inch size. It really is just a question of, do you really just want to add that tablet ability for about $300? At 15 inches, it really is a device that stands apart and needs a little extra consideration. Consideration of your workflow and consideration of your own expectations. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to my thoughts. Please let me know if you agree on my comparisons or if you think there's a better way at looking at these two devices. And as always, thank you from Pragmach.